All right, as far as television goes, this was one hell of a weekend with the return of Rick and Morty, Edge Up to Morty, Rick Die, Rick Pete, as well as a very tantalizing Watchmen episode. If you don't like my story, write your own, a very meta title for episode 4 of season 1 for Watchmen, as well as briefly touching on a favorite show of mine that is wrapping up Silicon Valley season 6, episode 3, Holy Smokes. I'm Justin Thomas, your host. This will be your Top Shelf Fandom weekend catch-up.
Oh, baby, it's a wild world. Time to get back just upon a smile.
All right, everybody. So my weekend, I was out of town and I got back today and I had to do all my Sunday viewing today. So today is pretty much like Sunday night for me, and hopefully this gets out early. And remember to subscribe and support the channel and all that, and we'll try to get out a few of these. So quite a bit happened at Watchmen, and quite a bit new happened. Again, we got a lot of exposition last episode, episode 3. A lot of the scenarios in which you'd see any pilot episode of a television series, we got in episode 3, especially with the FBI's investigation. You got a lot of scenes that were very pilot-esque. Pilot-like. So this one we got introduced to Lady True. We've known about True Companies and all this. She goes and meets the Clarks. There's egg symbolism all over the place, not only with the actual eggs at Clark Farms. Yes, this is definitely some Superman and innuendos, a wink and a nod at the very least to another comic book, which were also present in the original graphic novels from my understanding. The important thing to take away here is that Lady True seems to be kind of Dr. Manhattan-esque, if I dare say. She either has incredible timing and very lucky, or she has a higher perception of time and space, meaning I'm proposing that she can definitely, in some sense, see into the future in certain aspects, not all. She can either see a limited amount of the future, or it's like kind of a Doctor Strange situation in which she can see multiple outcomes. Because she can't see everything, else she would be not worried about pulling this off. She must see at least outcomes that don't come to fruition, or at least don't end in a way that's advantageous for what she's up to. So what she's up to, well, we'll get into that in a moment. But as of right now, we know she shows up, she offers a baby. So Lady True definitely wants the land. She gets the land. It is also implied, especially with the name, I think it's a little bit meta from Lynda Levy saying, if you don't like my story, write your own. But also, it's almost like they're writing their own DNA. They're writing their own genealogy in the sense, and it seems we also see an egg in the sense of the walnut that we see Angela put in at DNA facility. So I'm getting a little bit of an idea that they're definitely going to change the way in which we look at not just our legacy, but our family, in the sense of, I don't believe Angela's family, it wouldn't be very recognizable to us. I believe that there's a series of people sharing experiences quite literally. And I think that the big tell is that Lynda Levy said that the story is Angela's story, but the origin is Tulsa 21, and that is Will's origin story. So I think we're going to at least see a skip in a generation here when we have Will, and then we have supposedly Marcus, but we don't know much about Marcus, Angela's dad, and we know very little about her mother. There seems to be a connection, and it seems that Angela's grandfather, Will, and Lady True, or at least somebody from Lady True's lineage, became connected in Vietnam somehow. It doesn't seem to be logical to me that we're not going to have either the full combination, yes, hear me out, of either Angela and Will, meaning that she could be a clone, just as we see with Lady True's daughter. We see the implication that she's seen one of the atrocities that happened during the Vietnam War, or throughout any of the last 150 years of the Vietnamese people. We could be seeing anything from that, but I have more of the idea that we are encountering a situation in which we have characters that are sharing experiences. A little shout out to Axel Foley and Hack's Dogma. Talked with Axel today after we recorded, and we were discussing this. He had brought up to me that they had spoke about the idea that Lady True is in some sense fulfilling the Dr. Manhattan aspect of this story. There's a juxtaposition between Lori and Angela with how to go about achieving or dealing out justice, and then you have the other aspect of this story, which is the not how but the who. So the Lori and Angela is the how to go about things in the who of who Angela is and how they're going to use this to deeper explore the way in which we perceive others and the atrocities that happen to people that aren't us, as well as the ones that happen to us, but more of a joined perception of the world in which we live in, the cultural and philosophical aspects would be joined together with Will. So you have the who, which is the Will and Angela, and then you have the how, which is the Angela and Lori. With the inclusion of, I think that Ozymandias' storyline is taking place in a sense of, it's still not very clear in whether or not he put himself in this exile. There's just enough to make you believe that it's definitely something he didn't choose himself, and just enough control to make you have to concede at least to the fact that, hey, it does seem like he's still running everything there. But the way in which we see life being created, we see it in 3 different ways in this episode, which I found to be intriguing, is really my big point here, is through the walnut, in the learning of the genealogy, through the forming of the Clark's child, through Lady True's seemingly fabricated environment, everything from the tree from Vietnam, she's able through appropriation, in which they're pushing, as well as Vietnam's colonization, appropriation, and so forth, is definitely depicted through her actual ability, just much like Veit's to, genetic engineer anything she pretty much wants. So it's not about the land, it's about the blood, right? So it's all about this DNA. So my guess is that when we see Lady True's daughter, that it's not that she's sharing her experiences, but it's most likely her grandmother's experience. Definitely, like I said, this is not a family that atomically we would recognize. I don't buy that time in between Will and Angela. I believe that the connection has been altered or will be altered in some sense. I believe they're introducing this, and this is something that Axel brought up with me, that what better way to depict the shoe on the other foot than to literally have people experience everybody's, this omnipotent experience of being able to experience everybody's emotions and everybody's both atrocities, the good, the bad. So how willing would we be to drop a bomb on another country if everybody felt what everybody else had felt? So yeah, it gets a little bit out there, and they'll probably rein it in a little bit, but that's the main message of this episode right here. We find that there is enough evidence to say that a Lady True has at least some insight, some foresight into the future, that Veidt is definitely in his own way creating life and purpose, and Angela is exploring hers as well. Nobody knows for certain what's happening, but I'd be very willing to put some money on the line saying that Dr. Manhattan, in fact, will never appear in this series other than that supposed video of him. I think that the role is being filled by Lady True. Let me know your theories in the comments below. It's just a quick take on it. We'll probably do a actual live stream later in the week. I just watched it. Really, that is the conclusion that I'm coming to, that the creation of both the landscapes as well as those that inhabit them, we are getting the 3 different stories, the 3 different narratives. So if you don't like my story, write your own. I believe Lady True is writing her own. I believe that Veidt is writing his own, and I believe that Will has at some point edited his own, and that is where we will come into it with Angela and Will. We'll see what happens and see how right I am. I'm not claiming to have any insight further than that into exactly how Veidt and True will clash, or they will collaborate, because we just have to take away what we've seen, and that is they both have similar powers, they both have similar abilities. So are they on the same side or are they not? So how does that affect our story? If Veidt's not on the same side with Lady True, what is she trying to do exactly? So as soon as we get, I think episode 6, and that's where we're going to be doing the Before the Dust Settles, which we did for all of Westworld with Hex Dogma as my official co-host, as he was for Westworld, and will be. In our 3rd seat goes to Axel Foley. Axel Foley did some of the best episodes with us last season, so we are going to do a one-off for Watchmen for Before the Dust Settles and discuss episode 6 right after it airs live on YouTube, and you guys can join us, so it should be a lot of fun. So yeah, I don't claim to know everything that's going to happen, but I can at least somewhat give you the guys the framework, and I really enjoy this show, and I think it's very ambitious at the very least. So let's hope he closes up a lot of these superficial threads and lets the philosophical and cultural questions, the bigger questions, solving for race and so forth, as he said, to be present, but to not have people feel like they watch a show in which they didn't get answers for anything, because those philosophical answers you will not get. I've said this before, I don't know if you want the answer to God, then you're in the wrong boat, but if you want the answer to who Hun Judd, who Will is, who Angela is, and what Lady True's up to, or what Adrian Veidt's up to, then yes, we should have those answers, and they should play into this bigger ball of yarn. So let's go off into another multi-dimensional, well, this one definitely is, Rick and Morty. I really enjoy this show. It's so much fun, and it has the deep philosophical with the crazy. It's very similar in a lot of ways. I won't go too much into Rick and Morty. I don't really try to analyze it too much, but the premiere episode definitely, probably already heard, it's a lot like the first season. Oh, they're getting back to the basics. They're dealing with the power structure within the family, the power dynamic within the family of Rick not being in control anymore, and how he's going to handle that, how he has to ask permission for Morty to go on these adventures with him, and also the idea that there's multiple dimensions, as we've seen before, and there's, obviously infinite Ricks, infinite Mortys, or at least a shit ton of them. Since we're trying to keep these short, I will put that in part 2 along with Silicon Valley and a little bit on the new World War II Color series in which Netflix released, and I'll have that out in the next day. Hope you guys enjoyed the quick take on The Watchmen and look forward to part B for those of you that are interested in all of the rest. I'm Justin Thomas. Thank you for stopping by Top Shelf Fandom. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to check out the free link for the VPN in the information below. Bonus VPN has sponsored the channel. It is a free 2 gigs of a VPN, people, without needing your credit card. So just go ahead and try it out. It literally, you couldn't get a better deal. Give it a try. It's one of the only services that actually works and will let you access other regions in their content, meaning Netflix UK, Netflix Australia, the ITV player for BBC One if you're in the States, and vice versa. If you're not in the States and you want to have access to United States servers, please try it out. It's a free 2 gigs. Again, all you got to give is simply an email and a password to set up your account, and that is it. If you like it, then you can purchase it. If not, oh well, nothing but a free VPN. And we'll see you guys soon with part 2.